Vic, welcome back, brother. I appreciate you doing this again. First episode, we covered a lot, learned a lot, but we didn't really get an opportunity to dig into ERT, breacher, explosive breaching, canine handling, sergeant supervisor. Also, you dropped in, you had cancer twice and made it through all this other career, everything else you had going on. So I really appreciate you coming back and diving into this.
Yeah, man, it's definitely an honor being here again.
Well, Vic, I'll let you lead it off with how you kind of want to flow in your career and what kind of shaped the different levels of training. What was
training was definitely a big part. Like I said, we were established in 2006, basically with nothing. So we like I said, we had a Delta guy come in and teach us the basics, and then we were kind of at the mercy of our team commander for the next couple of weeks, where we did a lot of foundational work, footwork, weapons handling, and things like that. So small building blocks to really establish ourselves as a full-time team.
Let me ask you this. What was the biggest difference between a Delta guy teaching you weapons handling and then maybe what you went through either in police academy or what you learned while you were on the job?
That's a good question.
In the best summary version possible.
Yeah, that's so, learning weapons handling from someone of that caliber, you're taking just the smallest manipulation, even from like out of the holster. So everything is like by the numbers. Everything is going to be consistent. Your draw stroke to presentation is going to be consistent across the board. Everything's smooth. Smooth as fast, and that's kind of what they preach. So that's just repetition over and over again, and just a lot of rounds downrange, a lot of dry firing. They have magazines that you could dry fire with, and there's a dry fire frame for the handgun or whatever weapon you're using. And we had those in the office too. So there's a lot of dry firing and weapons handling that was going on a day-to-day basis, whether we were training or just hitting the road or in roll call. Those weapons were in our office, and guys were picking them up all the time and just, kind of playing around and just working on the trigger reset, all kinds of things. So it's just the basic foundations of firearms, and you just kind of go over and over and over until everything's consistent. Yeah,
BJ and I have talked about this, and we can't remember where we got it from, so I would give credit. But a lot of people say train till you get it right, and one of our people were like, "No, you train so you can't get it wrong."
That's a good way to put it. That's for sure.
Well, since we're on the topic, what weapon systems were you using at the time, or did it progress? I don't know.
It did progress. So we started with a Glock 23, which is the 40 caliber. And then we went to the Glock 22, which is the full frame 40 caliber.
Got it.
The full frame 40 cal, is obviously a bigger capacity magazine, and the larger frame, it felt good in guys' hands. And we kind of went with that. We wanted to go to 9mm, but the department wasn't good.
Did they ever go to 9?
No, they're still with the 40 cal.
Interesting.
Paterson's still 40?
Yeah, still 40 cal.
Yeah, because when I went to Ramsey first, it was 40. We used 22s and 23s, and they went over to 9mm. But as Tyler can tell you, pretty much every federal agency uses 9mm except for the one we were at uses 40.
They are switching to 9, sir, out of nowhere. Well, and I've experienced 40, 9mm, and then Maine, I still loved it. We had the HK with the 45 caliber, mostly because we shot a lot of injured animals. A lot. I couldn't do that in Florida, but we could do it in Maine.
Right? You guys didn't use rifles for that?
You could, but I mean, like a possum or porcupine or something. You're not gonna pull that out.
Vic, did you guys shoot injured animals, or was there even injured animals in Paterson?
Actually, come to think of it, there was one
giant rats
on Route 19.
Okay,
yeah, it was on the highway.
Yeah,
it was an animal, so they put them down with a.
Yeah, we did it in Ramsey all the time, but it was pistols. We used always handguns. If you use a rifle, you get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. I think I've told this story on the show before, but in Maine, so back it up. Florida, injured animals could be cows, deers, alligators, huge fucking snakes, wild pig. I mean, it ran the gambit. In Maine, it was mostly porcupines, possums, things like that, but you would have deer. And let me tell you something. This is the most stressed I've ever been, because by the time a call came in, there's an injured deer on the side of the road, there'd be 5 or 6 hunters waiting. And they're watching you like, don't ruin the meat. And you're like, oh God. So you get closer and closer. You're like, moose also. I never had to do that, but Anyway, what kind of rifle? And then did you guys use shotgun?
Yeah. So rifle, we started with a Colt M4. Okay, let me back this up.
Go ahead.
So 2006, we get established. We were like the ragtag emergency response team. We had nothing, no equipment, no nothing. So our first long gun was an MP.
Bro, okay.
You might as well have a Civil War musket, right?
Yeah. No, dude, come on.
No, it was all right. That was, again, this is like 2006.
Not my favorite, but go ahead.
It wasn't cutting edge, but we were getting there. So we were always getting.
It's a great weapon, but not for long. Anyway,
it was good enough to storm the embassy in London in 80.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
was
right.
Queen's Gate or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And
like
very true.
Force units in the Marine Corps were using it up until the early to mid 90s for direct action missions. They were training on the regular one and the SD, the silenced one.
Yeah, we had both. We had a suppressed, and we had a couple that weren't suppressed. We were getting basically threatened that we're going to get disbanded and all kinds of stuff like that. But we had until we kind of proved ourselves, and which we eventually did.
Yeah.
In 2008 that was a big turnaround for us as far as gear and equipment. We went from having just the basics to getting more enhanced.
Yeah.
We went to Colt M4s first. Colt was originally a Paterson weapon. Colt factory was in Paterson.
Didn't know
That's
that.
why I kind of went to it for historic purposes. I think that was a selling point for the chief at the time.
Yeah. Buy local.
Then we went to EOTech Optics again using Glock 23s, and we did have Remington 870s.
Classic, baby. I love the shotgun, but people hate it and they're getting away from it. A lot of agencies. Oh no, man. When everything else fails, shotgun will do what you got to do.
Yeah, listen. I always say Remington 870, Marines carried it in the jungles of Vietnam, and it worked good, man.
We did have a couple pistol grips, and I'm not a big pistol grip guy.
No.
870 was the best for we had a. I'll get into more of the breaching stuff later, but we had 870 was our breaching shotgun by design because I picked it.
Yeah, fucking great weapon. Let me ask you
this. Our marksman observers used Remington 7.
Fuck yeah, great weapon.
Yeah, and I think their optics were probably more than all of our rifles combined.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this. Did you guys ever mess around with the full auto? Because I know it was hot and heavy for a while, and then a lot of specialties have downshifted from that, and they'll either do semi or 3 bursts. The full auto is anyway, it's kind of gone out of fashion.
So getting it back into the firearms training, a lot of times we use full auto only for trigger manipulation. So you want to get 2 rounds out, 3 rounds out. So it's all about trigger control. The range instructor at the time would call out a number, and that's how many rounds would have to come out on full auto. So you're really working that trigger and learning how to manipulate it on full auto. But that's the only time I really used it. It was training. It wasn't
yeah.
We didn't do a lot of training or shooting and on full auto. It was more for manipulation, for manipulating trigger.
That's interesting. I understand what you're saying. I don't think I've ever utilized it that way. It was mostly just for, hey, this is what it was more like familiarization. And every time we did it, don't ever do that. Because your accuracy goes out the window. Let me just touch on this. If we're jumping around, I apologize. But
no worries.
You talk about how you started, but what advances in the gear, tools, however you want to phrase it, did you experience? I'll leave it with that, then I'll follow it up with another question.
There's a ton. As far as the equipment, I can speak from a breacher standpoint. You got to have the basics. So you want to take, exterior tools and then work your way in. So we went from just having your basic ram, sledge, Halligan. We had hydraulic tools. And now we're getting into saws, your demo saw or chainsaw, more hydraulic stuff with, hydraulic pumps and things of that nature for the high rise buildings. We're getting metal doors with concrete foundations and things like that. So kind of you're really upping the game as far as breaching. So there was definitely an evolution of tools. But then we also went from 2006 to about 2008, we went to a bunch of different training courses, and you kind of go to these courses and you see what other teams are using and how they're utilized, and you can we use that where we are? And then you're like, oh yeah, we could probably use that, and we put it on the wish list, and then eventually we might get it. So we kind of worked from basic into having an equipment truck full of gear that we could utilize on an operation.
Yeah, and the biggest thing you said is you trained on it and learned how to use it and why it would be applicable. What about body armor?
Body armor is definitely an evolution as well. We didn't run with just plate carriers like most teams do. We had full body armor, yokes, and shoulder protection.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, that was by design. That was the boss wanted that, and I guess for looking back, more like liability purposes. That's you want full coverage, especially if you're doing like barricade stuff and things like that.
Yeah,
being fully covered for his liability is probably the best way to go. So we did not run like.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know some special teams guys that I've talked to, they all have their pros and cons, and they kind of fluctuate. But it's one of those things that getting someone to nail down. It sounds like you were a fan of the heavy armor.
Was I a fan of it? Absolutely not.
Well, maybe not wearing it.
But then the plates, it became, they went from being, these big bulky plates to like the more lighter, that which we eventually went to, before I left.
Yeah.
We had the helmet with the comms and all kinds of other stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that stuff too. Yeah, the comms built in.
Yeah, but that's from where we were to where we ended up, we're two different styles. I mean, we went from having nothing and looking like a bunch of, just like
T-shirt and jeans,
a patchwork quilt. Yeah.
Yeah, but it also, you know what though? It also reflected, like, at the time of, like, because the GWAT was going big and there was so much stuff coming out, and like, and Vic, like prior to like 2001, like 9/11, like very few tactical teams like LAPD and like HRT and FBI SWAT and some of the other ones were like the only ones really running like a clean team, like a uniform team. And the gear evolves so much.
So in my notes, I actually mentioned the GWAT because that's actually, if you think about the time frame where we started up 2006, Adam was already, that whole thing was already going on. Like, they were already overseas. So all the intel that's coming back, and now you're going to training because now all the tactics are evolving.
Yeah.
So it's not, you're trying to get away from like your fixed stacks formations, and I don't want to get too far into the tactical side of things.
Yeah.
But you're moving from that, and just the movements are very different, and now you're starting to blend different tactics together.
Yeah.
So by us going to these different classes and all these different trainings, we would go to some were redundant and repetitive, but from a command standpoint, he would always ask me like, did you learn one thing? And he'd be like, yeah. And I'm like, well, then the training was worth it. If you learned one thing, it doesn't matter if you're repetitive or not. If you pick up one thing, that one thing could be very valuable. So
no, for sure.
Now you're going to these different trainings, you're understanding how tactics work. And now you're able to kind of blend things together, and the vision is very different from an operator standpoint. When you bring these back to our own training, divulging it to the team, and then the guys are understanding it, and it makes for a nice stew of tactics.
No, for sure. Adam, could you explain what GWAT is for people who don't know that?
So that's the for all those operators now, the Global War on Terrorism. Yes. So that was not 9/11 to technically like 2021, August 2021 to, shut down Afghanistan, But, like talking about Vic with body armor, I remember going with the Marines. When I first came in, we had we were still using the flak jackets, like from the late 80s, all through the 90s, the same style. We got like the Interceptor, which was soft armor that was actually like could stop 9mm. The old flak vest couldn't stop rounds, really, more for shrapnel. And then we got plates before going to Iraq. And then but the thing is we didn't have plates for everybody. So like small dudes or like really big dudes like Tyler and probably you, Vic, would get like one plate maybe.
Yeah, my plate would be just right here.
And so like small dudes would have like one plate. Guys wouldn't have a back plate.
Yeah.
Like average size guys like me, they had enough for those. And then from when I went into Afghanistan, to get like an Eagle plate carrier with soft armor, plates, side sappies, to like while I was there, then you got like the combat diaper, we called it, for IEDs. And then you had to wear like, so your junk was okay, because a lot of guys would get like, besides getting like a partial amputation or something, their junk would get messed up.
Jesus.
And then we also had to wear like special, this is typical Marine Corps. We had to wear special, like they were like biker shorts under your camis. You didn't wear your silkies, wore those. They were designed so if you got hit, like if you had like a below the knee or even above the knee amputation, your veins wouldn't all roll it back into your pelvis area and stuff. It was designed to keep the veins there so you could put a tourniquet on and it wouldn't make the surgeons go more. But I got somebody else's. And then I gave mine to somebody else when I left. So thank God there was a washing machine there. But I mean, I don't think it ever truly got clean. So like there was somebody that had my junk rubbing against their junk, and I had the same with me. I mean, it was
extra gravy.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about this Kevlar or whatever diaper. I will never complain about chafing again. The chafing must have been atrocious.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't that bad, but it was so funny because it definitely was something that probably came from the Army, because it was the Army camouflage color. Not that disgusting, the gray one. I forgot what the one it is now. Jesus, I forgot that color. So, but I mean, was it? I was there, like they got it to us in like more in the winter time frame, so it wasn't like, I can only imagine humping through like Sangin in August at like 110 degrees for like a 6 to 8 hour patrol. I'd probably be like, I mean, you want to talk about shrinkage? There probably was nothing left after that.
Vic, you said 2008 was kind of a time you established yourself. Was there an event or a moment that solidified it, or was it just the command just was like, oh yeah, we need you guys?
So it was just the amount of training that we had, and that's when we got our armored vehicle.
Got it.
And bringing in all these outside agencies to come in, and that's kind of like when the guys were like, "We ain't going anywhere."
Yeah.
So they're investing all this time and money into us, and we're now from that point on, I'd say like up to like 2010, we were rocking and rolling. We were busy. Like I said, we were full time.
How many calls would you say? Oh, sorry.
And we were getting utilized for a lot of different things. So whether it was executive details, just search warrants, barricades, all things like that. Those were coming in pretty much fast and furious. So we went from being more of like, I don't want to say reactive team, because we kind of were, but then we were now kind of just constantly being utilized in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, it makes you feel safe when you have those guys running around.
Yes.
Fuck yeah. All right, so that you answered my question. Well, actually, how many calls for service roughly did you average a year? Height.
So as far as like
just call outs for
actual call outs and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, we had like in the first episode, we talked about the layoffs and demotions.
Yeah.
That's probably when we were the busiest. I mean, we were doing sometimes 2 a day.
Damn.
Yeah. Because the manpower is so diminished. And then we, like I said, narcotics was mostly the bread and butter.
Yeah.
But when you take all those cops off the street, people on the street know it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an uptick in violent crimes and things like that, because there's less people on the road. And that's when kind of things were started we had to buckle down a little bit as far as a police department, as far as an agency.
Gotcha.
And, investigators are doing their thing or investigating things, and we were just getting utilized more and more. Then once Paterson is big and busy, there's a lot of, talk about the alphabet soup of agencies coming in. And once you started working with them, then the ball starts rolling, and they see the equipment that you have, and if you act professional and things you hand them a report at the end, and then all the things are, you cross your I's, T's, and all that other good stuff. You get leaned out a lot. That's kind of where we were at.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you guys had to write reports. Adam, I only see your right eyeball.
I had to, because as a team leader, that was my job. I had to do the ops plan, I had to do all the briefings, all the debriefings, and all the after actions and all that stuff, and make a nice little packet that I had to hand to whoever needed it.
Yeah.
I hope you had a bunch saved on the computer so you can, go back to old ones.
There was a lot of copy and pasted.
Good. Sounds very Marine Corps like.
Just try to explain to people, anytime you see cops do something, what you would deem fun, pursuits, chasings, whatever, I'm like, you don't understand. Every is like, no, that's so much paperwork. You just don't even understand.
There's a lot of paperwork.
It's not fun.
I mean, for the tactical end of it, I mean, there was, the after actions, the ops plan was the biggest always.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meetings, a lot of intel, and then we got to vet it ourselves, because we're not going to take anyone's word for it. So we did a lot of vetting on our own. From the time we started till the time we ended, it was very different. Google Earth and Zillow have helped tremendously, to say that.
For sure. Get the layouts.
Vic, I like hearing that you guys had you basically had your own intel section doing the vetting and making sure. That's impressive.
That's me.
Yeah.
He was the intel.
I was the intel section.
Was there anything that would make you say no?
You always hear those stories where a team in some other state takes a house down and then it's the wrong address. Because they went off good faith. I'm not knocking the detective bureau, but they're we're going to go hit 123 Main Street, but it's 126 Main Street,
Yeah, or there's the side door, or 1.5, or there's all kinds, especially, where we worked, there was a lot of places that were turned. It might be a 2-family, but you go inside, it's like 4-family. Yeah. So that there's a lot of that going on as well.
Is there anything that would make you say no? Like, no, we're not doing that. It's too dangerous, or there's not enough intel or something.
No. A lot of times it was not enough intel.
Got it. Like, no, we need more.
Yeah. Or they would be like, think that we maybe, so we can't go on maybe, or you think. There's got to be. But we've had addresses and you go inside and this place is completely empty on that. We still run it. You run it as if it's,
never know.
Empty. Yeah, you never know. So you continue the job. Job's got to get done.
Yeah.
But there's lots of stories.
Yeah, never a SWAT guy, so I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to pretend that I am, but I've done that where we were looking for somebody and it appeared to be a empty house, like a abandoned home or whatever. And we ran through it, and sure enough, individuals hiding like in a closet, like just tucked, like small. Like you just kind of hear, like you just get that feeling, like somebody's in there, and they're in there. And you're like, oh, well, fucking shit. All right, I guess they're right.
Oh yeah. So I mean, as from my standpoint, my job was to turn over a safe structure to whoever the investigator was, and that was the goal.
It's good to hear. Are you ready to jump into breacher and then explain the difference between a breacher and an explosive breaching? Or are they all the same?
No, they're definitely not.
I was never either one. So
breaching, like I said, from the basic, you had the basic equipment, ram, pry bar, sledge, just the basic stuff. So being on the ambulance, I was working in EMS. Yeah. You think of your ladder companies in the fire department, that's all forcible entry stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, let me see who I can get in touch with and learn about forcible entry.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I took the ball and started really taking a deep dive into like what equipment works in the town that obviously they work in Paterson. Yeah. So you want to see what they carry, how it's utilized. Could we use it? Can we not use it? And we trained with some of their guys. And then they were like, well, you kind of went over our knowledge. And they put me in contact with someone that taught up at Bergen County Fire Academy, who was he was one of the instructors there for forcible entry. And he was like a game changer for us as far as moving forward and progressing as a breaching team.
Yeah.
I got the FDNY forcible entry guide, and I'd read that thing from cover to cover and learned how to get into pretty much anything. And that's where we really started evolving as breachers.
Well, you two are breaking the mold. You're a SWAT guy and a Marine that both can read and do read. So I appreciate that.
I mean, it takes me a long time to read.
Yeah. Could we edit that part out of the broadcast?
Absolutely not.
There's a lot of pictures in this forcible entry guide.
No, I love it.
But that thing is like from like the first guide. I think I forget how old that thing is, but it still had, Paterson's an old town, so it still had a lot of
that's a good point.
And doors and construction. If you think about the new construction now,
yeah.
For training days for breachers, we had Lowe's and Home Depot in Paterson. So sometimes on days where we would train, we would take a little field trip to Lowe's and Home Depot, because most of the people that do work on their house, they're getting their doors and all that other stuff from Lowe's and Home Depot. So I get to, manipulate and touch doors and see what they're made of and look inside, and because there's no knobs on them, so you can kind of see the contents of what's inside. Yeah. So you look at a thin-skinned, exterior door. I'm not going to use a ram on that thing because I'm going to put it right through it because it's not really made of anything.
Yeah.
So you really kind of got to do your homework as far as like, whatever you're going to attack. And that's what we did. And that's what, that's how you train. That's how you learn, is by experience. So going there and seeing the material that it's made with, there was a door factory that we had in our town.
That's awesome, dude.
Great town. And we went and we trained with those. We met with them and they showed us a whole bunch of different, fireproof doors and what doors are, for like roll down gates and things like that. So we kind of went down the whole gambit of entry points, from windows to doors to mechanical doors, magnets, all kinds of things. That's
you haven't lived until you try to kick a door in and you kick it, your foot and your whole leg goes through the middle of the door and you're just straddling the inside and the outside.
Tyler, are you telling from experience?
More than once. More than once.
We didn't want it. We want to look like the Kool-Aid man. We didn't want to look like that.
Well, I'll give you two more stories just because they're funny. One, I was trying to get into this dude ran in this apartment complex and I was kicking it. It was solid and I kicked it and I was like, what the fuck? And I kicked it again and I heard someone go, 2. And then I kicked it like the whole part. They were counting the number of times it took me to kick the door.
Oh boy!
The person on the other side?
No, the neighbors. They were laughing.
The person on the other side, that'd be bad.
Yeah, that would be bad. And then my last one was, because I was the big guy. Again, I wasn't a breacher. My breaching was kicking it with my foot or slamming my shoulder, all the things you're not supposed to do. I went to go, again, arrest warrant or whatever. I kicked the door, and it was a solid kick. I blew that thing off the fucking hinges, and my foot landed in dog shit, and I slipped and fell. They thought it was a man down, so they dragged me in my white uniform through the dog shit out the door, and I was like, I'm fine. And so then I'm just covered in my whole back. It's not always glamorous.
Who got to ride with you on the way back?
I rode by myself, and that's how that went. And I was trying to I did the really macho. I was like leaned way forward because I was trying to go home so I could change my shirt out. So I was like all up against the steering wheel. Try not to get shit all over my car.
Hopefully it wasn't convertible.
No. We were using the old Dodge Chargers, which still, I look like a fucking, I don't know, a beached whale trying to get out of the thing. Anyway, I digress. So explosive breaching, what is that and how is that different? I mean, besides, I assume you blow shit up, but yeah.
Yeah. So there was a lot of different variations of, we don't call it explosive breaching anymore. We call it energetic breaching, Tyler.
Ooh, fair. I like it.
It's
much more PC.
It sounds a little tastier than
yeah.
So we went to a couple different classes. There's a couple different, early on, there was guys were getting innovative with, I don't know if you're familiar with ALS blast strips. They're like, it's like almost like a flashbang you could put underneath the door, the bottom of the door, and you could like detonate it whenever you want. It was basically a flashbang, but no body.
Ooh.
That makes sense.
No, I've never seen,
a flat piece. Yeah. So this guy took IV bags with an ALS blast strip and made like a command initiated charge. And that was, you're not using explosives. You're using the guts of a flashbang, basically, with the IV bag, and you're opening the door that way.
It's like a water charge.
Yes.
It's very
You
cool.
use an MRE bag, but you use C4, and it works really good, Tyler, because it's designed. It can take doors like on ships. It blasts through doors, a water charge.
Jesus.
Because the water is like pushes the explosive. I forgot how to make it and all that shit. So
that was like the first iteration of what we learned how to do.
Okay.
Never used it. We saw the demonstration and things like that. I mean, definitely ahead of his time. The guy that created that was actually pretty cool. But then we went to, there was a thing called a wall banger, which was, again, was a command initiated flashbang. So it's basically the guts of a flashbang. The guy made like this big metal like pole with like, it looked like a little house at the end of it.
Okay.
So the command initiated flashbang would screw in there, and you would put it over the locking mechanism on a door. So a deadbolt and the doorknob, and you would just command initiate. It was like almost like a grill igniter. You would hit that, and the command initiated flashbang would go off, and it would direct a charge towards the door, and the door would open up. So that was, again, you're circumventing using deck cord and things like that.
Yeah.
And then we moved into deck cord, and we went to 2 different schools for that. One school thought was a little bit different, and the most recent one that we went to, you're trying to take again, we're talking about, because I don't want to get too far into this, but you talk about like the newer construction. It's not like what it used to be.
Yeah.
So dialing down the charges that you would use for your energetic breaching, you're reducing overpressure and you're reducing the PSI for that charge. And that's what we're looking. That was the goal. And that's where we ended up. That's how we ended when I left.
Did you guys ever get into like the concrete and like something like older concrete's harder?
You sound like every team commander in the country. They want to get through. As soon as you go to explosive school, they want to know how to get through a wall.
Okay. Well, let me tell you something. This is a Secret Service story, Adam. I don't think I've told you this one. I was in Chicago, and we land in Air Force 1, Air Force 2, same place every time. Right. Well, this time they wanted it 100 yards and further down the track or whatever, because they were busy. And I go, okay. And I asked the boss, the mill aide, I ask everybody, I'm like, is this okay? I don't know shit about any of this stuff. They're like, yes. All right, it's fine. Long story short, go to leave. The plane had sunk into the asphalt because it was right where the concrete turned into like softer concrete or asphalt. I don't fucking know any of this stuff. Once again, I'm not an engineer. I don't know any of this shit. But they all looked at me because it was my site. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. But it got so hot, it sank in there, and it was like delayed for hours. It was a nightmare. And that's when I learned about the different grades and weight loads of concrete and asphalt.
So as far as like breaching, tactics, SWAT operations, there's a lot of variables. So I always answered when they asked me a certain question, I'd be like, it depends.
I love that answer. Sounds like the situation dictates.
It depends. It depends. I don't know. It depends on what happens in front of me. It depends who's dictating the tactics. It's not us.
Yeah.
whoever, is inside, and everything depends on everything else. It depends.
That's fair.
So that was my answer for everything. I don't know. It depends.
So and I'm sorry, I am going to get a little in the weeds just because there was just that accident where I believe it was I can't remember what it was, and I apologize. I didn't mean to, wasn't planning on bringing it up, but they were moving or transporting explosives or waste or something like that, and it blew up and it killed a few officers. I feel horrible.
I think that was LA County Sheriffs, right?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So they had like their storage facility.
Yes, and they were moving something. Again, I don't know the details. The point of my question was referencing that, but like the storage of this stuff.
Yeah,
was that on you?
Yeah, it was.
What?
So the first thing I did as soon as we were starting to get all into this, and we were getting the deck cord and all that stuff, we got a magazine to store all this stuff in. And the first thing I did was call the ATF, and I had
that's smart.
Called the ATF, and I was like, listen, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I need everything that you have, policy, procedure for law enforcement. And, I want to go down. I want to make sure we have everything correctly before we even bring the stuff into the building.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we did. So there was a satellite office that was pretty close by.
Mm-hmm.
I called the woman. I spoke to her on the phone. She came right down. A couple of days later, we made an appointment. And she told us where to go and like what to get. And that's what we did as far as like storage and things like that. So that's how we handle it. And she told us how to the preferred method of transporting for law enforcement, and the amount that you're allowed to transport in a vehicle is pretty significant.
Really?
Yeah.
As law enforcement. As law enforcement, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we had different magazines to transport what we had. As far as like pre-made charges, I mean, it was very minimal because a lot of stuff, if you're using water and things like that, you can't. The water is consistency over time.
Yeah,
and you're taking away from that whole charge. So there were some that were pre-made that were stored in a proper magazine, stored in an equipment truck, climate control, all kinds of stuff like that. So we kind of did our homework with that before we even mess around with storage inside the building.
None of that sounds cheap to me.
No,
I'm sure all the budget people were like, "Oh, this is great, this line item."
Yeah, well, we had. Yeah, but it was, we had the capability.
Yeah.
To store it properly. So that was the whole thing. So if you want that capability, if you want to have that, then we need to do this. We had to do it correctly.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but we're on the topic. I've again, just experienced. They always they being upper management, bosses, whatever, bean counters, whatever you want to call them. They get pissy. They always want to cut. And then when they need it, they're like, why don't we have this? Did you ever, however you want to frame it, what were those conversations like for you? Because they want it, they expect you to have it, but they don't want to pay for it. Is kind of where I'm getting at.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like as far as like the gear and the equipment,
yeah,
we really didn't get a lot of pushback, only because of what we were doing. If we weren't training, we were doing operations. If we weren't doing operations, we were doing crime suppression. Our office home was always ringing. Especially with the canine stuff, and which I was a part of.
Yeah,
there was always something. There was always an ask.
Yeah,
and we always did, and we never had any complaints. We had probably the least amount of internal affairs complaints in the entire department. So whenever we needed something, we would have to wait usually, but we usually ended up getting it.
Let me ask you, what set the tone for your ERT team in that basically that professional environment? And let me just frame the question. A lot of times what you see or hear or whatever, even read or see on TV, which is all bullshit, it's always these aggro, they're fighting in the locker room, it's kind of, they don't give a fuck, it's just kind of that, it's like, nobody wants to work with somebody like that. It's a fucking pain in the ass. But it sounds to me that you guys had, at least on what you presented was a professional, like we are professionals and this is what we're doing. How do you use that culture? What set the tone for that?
The boss, the team commander, it starts with the command staff.
Yeah.
He was definitely, like I said in the first episode, I would do anything for that guy.
Yeah.
He taught me everything as far as from a tactical standpoint to a leadership standpoint. To have a guy like that you could follow, guy, as soon as he came in a room, guys just stopped what they're doing. And, if he walked by, he walked by. If he didn't, he engaged you and he talked to him. But that's just how it was. But as far as like, being aggro and fighting, oh yeah, there was a bunch of that.
Listen, that's why I said whatever is presented to the public. What goes on behind closed doors is fine.
It takes a different person to want to be on a team like that. It's a different mentality. When you have a bunch of guys who are alpha who think they're at the top of the heap,
and they're passionate about what they're doing and how they feel.
And that's what ends up happening. So there's been some disputes that have been settled behind a woodshed.
Nothing wrong with that. No. Adam, I'm going to kick that to you just real quick because my son he moved to a new base and he's experiencing a very different type of culture. I don't know how to frame it. They're all Marines. Marines are all Marines, right? You get the concept, but there's just there's a mentality that I guess changes. How do you navigate that or set that tone?
First there's the ground side and the air side. Then there's then there's the infantry, and then everybody else pogues, people other than grunts. But then there's like the combat arms, like, your artillery, and we don't have tanks anymore, and so you get to places and you get guys that think it's funny because I was an officer, so it was a little different for me.
Yep.
I got to my first infantry battalion as the second lieutenant, and you're treated like pure shit. You're treated by my cats. They're attacking something outside. You're treated by like the staff NCO still call you sir, but they don't want to talk to you. Yeah. The first lieutenants, like the senior lieutenants, are like, yeah, I've been here. I've been on one deployment. I know my shit and stuff like that. So sometimes it's best that you just shut your mouth and do your job. But I remember, I think I told you the story, Tyler. I'm not sure if I ever told you, Vic. I remember I was a standing officer of the day in Okinawa. I was a young second lieutenant. I was like 27 years old. So a long time ago. It was actually right after, like 3 months after 9/11. I'm sitting there with this sergeant from Lima Company. I was in Kilo, and he was pretty shit hot, and he had like 8 years in, but he's like, done, sir, I'm getting out. I'm like, why, man? You're like fucking shit hot. The battalion loves you. They want you to stay in. And so he's like, I wasn't always such a stellar Marine, sir. I'm like, why? He goes, well, when I was a young, I think I was a Lance Corporal or something. I was at 1st Recon Battalion, and and I said, to some corporal who was an NCO, I'm like, yeah, go fuck yourself, or no, I don't remember. He's like, all right, let's have a little conversation over here over this hill. So he's walking and the corporal's behind him, and he gets over the hill. There's like 6 or 7 other recon corporals there. And I'm like, well, what happened? He goes, I turned around and I punched the corporal. I go, what happened after that? He goes, well, I don't remember anything, but I never talked back again in my life.
Hey, sometimes it works.
He said it. He says it took getting the shit beat out of me to understand.
Yeah.
You show some respect, you show some humility, and it's, well, he's not like, son's not out into the fleet yet. He's like in a holding company right now, right?
Yeah.
I tried I was going to talk to him yesterday, but he didn't get done until the evening, and I was PTing, and then I'm going to try and call him tomorrow during the day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Boss.
Yeah. But I haven't been a lieutenant for 20
whatever. Soldier.
Almost 25 years. So
I'm going to start calling you soldier.
Whoa.
Disregard.
Weren't you a field hockey player in college?
No. I don't even know if that was a sport when I was in high school. Anyway, whatever. I digress. Vic, you see what Adam does to me? How long were you? So you were already ERT, breacher, explosive breaching, and then you transitioned to canine handler, or you did all of the above and added canine?
Yeah, so I kind of added canine.
Oh my God. Okay.
I was a team leader also. There was 4 team leaders.
See, I'm glad we're digging into this.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I was the only guy that was responsible for a team.
No, I got you.
We had 4 at one point. So I took a bulk of the stuff only because there was injuries with some guys, some guys coming and going from the team and things like that. So there's a lot of iterations of how the hierarchy worked. I just ended up being one of the longer standing team leaders. So I just ended up getting things dumped on my lap.
Got it. So what made you want to add canine handler to your already busy schedule?
Why not?
Fair. Okay. Some guys are like, I wanted a dog.
That was part of it, but I think, why did I want to add canine? I don't know. I think because of the direction that it was going in, it was going to be something unique, something different, and I ended up really loving it. From a tactical standpoint, using the dogs in that environment, and there's nothing more satisfying when you have a successful job using a dog, because it just goes to show the amount of time that you put in. The result that's the most rewarding thing.
The last time we talked, you put the thought in my head. It makes complete sense, but I always compartmentalized SWAT, breacher. That was like one thing. Canine for me has always been like its own thing because they do blood tracks or whatever it is. Search I don't know. I didn't always tie the two together. It makes perfect sense, and it's clearly what also they do. They work alongside tactical teams. But you had mentioned that you were the training because you wanted you wanted the dog to be around the tack team because a lot of times close quarters. Was that
either
training or you thought?
Either close quarters or even, open air searches. It's the tactics. Again, you're blending different tactics together, and having a dog assigned to the team, the guys are just used to being around them because the dogs are always around. Like we always, I don't want to say always did stuff because depending on whatever the training was on the menu, sometimes it didn't involve dogs. But in our downtime, we would always do work during training, whether it be bite work or, like I said, or article searches or anything like that. The guys are just used to being around them. Yeah. And when you have it, it makes everything a lot easier from a handler standpoint. And then the guys they're not, I get a little herky jerky around the dogs, or they're just used to being around them. So it just makes things a little bit easier. Establishing perimeters and things like that, doing open air searches is just, guys know what they're doing. They know what you're looking for. Yeah. And they like, because they've done it so many times, it's just, they could direct other people how to do it. It just makes things a little bit easier.
It makes perfect sense.
It's almost like an extension. It's almost like having an extension of the handler. Yeah. So if I can't be in a certain spot, there's someone on the perimeter that's already dictating, we need to stay here because they're coming whatever way. And they can hear the communication on the radio and things like that. So they know what's up. So it just makes things a little bit better. Again, we're not like we were a good sized apartment, but we weren't like a Miami or LA or, big major city like that, where there's so many guys on the road. No, for sure. And now, was this a time when, because I know some agencies, you take the dog home or you put him in a kennel. What was your situation? Yeah. So we had outdoor kennels at our house. Base or something? Oh, at your house. Okay. Yes. So we had canine trucks that we took home, took the dog home with us, and we had kennels at the house, and that's where he stayed. So, kennels are probably nicer than some houses that people live in. So when I got this kennel put in my house, they're like, what color is your house? And I was like, oh, it's gray. They're like, oh, we have a gray siding. What color is your roof? And I was like, he's got some all around. I want to go to Vic's house. He's got the Bearcat or the armored vehicle, bomb shit, SWAT stuff, and a fucking tag dog.
Like all the neighborhood kids want to go hang out. Let's go to Vic's.
He's got all the fun toys. Adam, go ahead.
Or like having people over the house, I would, people would come here. And, my first dog was a little, he was all right around people, but I would take people's keys and I would throw them into the woods. And people were like, what the hell are you doing? And I would take the dog and I would go have him he would go find the keys in the woods. So it was a fun party trick.
That is fun. I like that. Adam, did you ever work with canines in the Marines, like around you?
Nah, that was mostly MPs, working dogs a little bit. But they were like, I feel like, from being a cop, you worked with them all the time. But I feel like the Marine Corps ones were they probably just sent them to make them extra pissed off because they were like always fucking angry.
Well, I worked with, in the Secret Service, you work with sometimes DOD dogs, and they've kind of phased it out. But I should send you the picture. First time I'd ever seen it, I heard about it. There was a dog working, and they had the titanium body so they could bite through. And the handler was like, he engraved the dog's initial in the teeth. Oh, bro. It was bad. It was gnarly. And I was like, he goes, that's $20,000 in that mouth. I was like, God damn.
We had one dog with a titanium tooth.
Just because it lost it or something?
Yeah.
I remember we were going up when I was with State. We had to go. The president of China was coming to Yale, and we were going to guard the foreign minister. Like, we were going up, and we stopped outside of, I don't remember where we were. Somewhere outside of New Haven, a little small department, and we coordinate with them so we could secure the limo, the Suburban, all the vehicles, and their secured lot for the night. So we go there, and there's I don't remember what type of dog is. It's this massive black dog that I think it was bigger than you. And the guy was like, I'm like, is your dog mean? And he's like, yeah, he's mean, but he's like, people can pet him and everything. But he had him trained in Polish. The dog knew some English, but the guy, he knew Polish commands. And he was telling me a story about where like they arrested some dude and some guy was trying to like yell at the dog in German to stop. And the guy's like, he speaks Polish, man. He doesn't understand German. He's going to bite you harder.
He's going to make him angrier.
But I remember I remember sitting there and the dog came up to me and sat down next to me. And like, I'm like, can I pet him? And he's like, yeah, sure. If he comes and sits next to you, like, it was funny because it was a bite dog and everything. Sat right there. I could scratch its neck. He's like, he must like you, because if you tried to touch him without him like coming near you, you probably wouldn't have your hand right now.
Yeah.
And I joked, I said I had the Kavork, the lore of the, like, remember Seinfeld, the Kavork, the lore of the women? You guys probably don't remember that episode, but I
don't watch television.
I'm old enough.
Yeah, thank you. But Vic's too cool for television.
Dude, he's got 15 jobs.
Yeah, he's like, I read tactical manuals at night.
Well, let me ask you this. What advances have you seen, if any, in the canine field? And what advances, what do they look like? Is it just training, dog breeds, or what does that look like for you?
Again, you're going back to, talking about the GWAT and, utilization of canines, and just, the knowledge that they experience over there, and the debriefs and reading up on things, and that all coincides with law enforcement over here. So, I mean, the guys that, run dogs and things like that, you're constantly, well, at least me, you're reading about different things, and you're constantly saying, I guess current with some of the things that are going on.
Yeah.
You're watching videos and you're looking and you're like, ooh, I wouldn't have done that. Or maybe I would have done, I would have tried this or things like that. So with YouTube and things like that, when you're able to see things with your own eyes, you're really putting a different perspective on things. But then again, when any kind of training and being in law enforcement, immersing yourself in that whole world, that's your job. Like, that's your craft. That's what your career is. Like, that's, you should really be kind of like, almost like a spokesman for it, because you should know it inside and out. I mean, at least that's my philosophy.
100%.
But there's so many cops that are out there that just kind of just put the uniform on and go to work. And especially with something as sensitive as canine, or if you're doing tactics, you need to know that stuff inside and out.
No, for sure. I had an old head lieutenant tell us one time, he's like, back in the day, you turned 18, 19, whatever it was, be like, I want to be a cop. They'd give you like a manual, you do an FTO for a couple of days, they'd throw you a shotgun and a badge, and be like, good luck, do it. This is back in the day. He goes, this is a profession. You take people's freedoms away. You should be a professional.
Yes. That's 100%. It's 100% accurate. Going as far as like going back to what we were talking about with leadership, I'll tell you a story. We were at training one day. Again, I'm a team leader. We separated into two teams. We had 30 plus guys. So now we're taking different runs at one of the places that we're training at. Guy on my team, he zigged when he should have zagged, I guess. We'll say that.
Fair.
But we're talking about, we would hot wash the job after we were done and talk about things that could have been better. My boss lays into this guy, and we're talking about splitting hairs as far as like where he stood or where he moved to like the part of the room. He just flames this guy. So me, being a team leader, and this guy's on my team, open my mouth and I stand up for him. Like, it's not like he's going to do this all the time. It's like we did it in training. He turned around, he stuck his finger in my face. I'll never forget this. He said, there is no mistakes made, not even in training. You guys are above that. And I was like, okay. And I just shut my mouth. I didn't say anything after that. But we were at that point. That's at the level we were at. There was no mistakes. There's none. And the expectation was so high. The bar was set so high. Yeah. Every time we had training, it wasn't like, you show up for training, you're scheduled for 8 hours, you do 4, and you go home.
Yeah.
Whatever was on that timesheet is when the job got done.
Yeah.
So if it was, we were scheduled from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. If we sucked, we were staying until 8 or 9. And there was, again, zero compensation.
Yeah.
Just don't suck.
Don't suck. Yeah.
That was the method of thinking.
No, for sure. It's a lot of responsibility. Vic, if it's okay with you, I want to skip past the sergeant supervisor because I think it ties into the next one.
Okay. So I'm going to keep that one short. You ready?
Go.
I took one promotional test.
Okay.
To become lieutenant. I died number 2 because I didn't open up a book. Reason why I died number 2 because I didn't open up a book, because I didn't want to get voted out of the unit.
So you took it just to say you took it and then be like showing initiative, but you didn't really want to leave.
Yeah. My boss told me to take it. I was an idiot if I didn't take it. So I took it, but didn't study. I ended up dying number 2. If I studied for 15 minutes, I probably would have came out like number, I don't know, 3.
Well, there you go. Well, I think it ties in because I want to get into this respectful time. But let's just play the game for a minute. King for a day. How would law enforcement professionals be utilized and trained going into the future?
Again, you want to immerse yourself in that whole, in your craft, right? So if you're a law enforcement officer, being immersed in that, in training, you want to enhance training. You don't want to defund it, right? You want to enhance it. When you enhance it, you're minimizing liability for not only the officer, but for the department itself and for the town that you work for.
Yeah.
It's a very simple concept. So the more trained that you are, the better the officer is going to be, and it starts from wanting to be there. Right now, law enforcement's in a tough spot because no one wants this job.
Yeah.
And the standards are so low, and that's kind of where we're at in law enforcement.
It's going to make it worse, though. You lower the standards, you're going to get a worse product, and then they're going to be out in the field and they're going to do dumb shit.
Of course. And that's bringing the liability to not only the individual officer, but for the agency itself.
Adam, if you don't mind chiming in for a second, because you brought it up and I love it. And people who hear you say it probably or like old heads that have been on the job, they fucking probably hate it. I love your story when you were a firearms instructor and you were like, you guys fucking suck and this is dangerous. Yeah. You're not passing, because we all know. Well, I say that, but I never got to experience that in its fullness, because all my firearms guys and training guys, like, you fucking trained at a high level because that's what was the expectation. But I know I've heard stories.
Yeah, like most.
Yeah, you go 8 hours, you just kind of shoot. Yeah, you all pass, you're good, and you keep it moving. I'm like, that motherfucker didn't pass.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I ever told you. I think it was like,
I heard you said that on your podcast when you were on.
Yeah. It was just I never understood it, because like there was active shooter in San Jose. A buddy of mine from the Marine Corps is a cop out there, and he was one of the first guys to respond. He's not a SWAT guy, he's a patrol guy, and I was bringing that up at training, and I'm like, I've seen most of you shoot and you suck. Like, and I think I'm an okay shot, but like I try and train as much as possible. But I was in the bureau at the time, and I was like, hey, if you're having trouble qualifying, I will get ammo. I have keys to the cage. I will take time. I will go shoot with you. One guy took me up on it. And
I was just going to say, how many guys took you up on that?
Yeah, exactly.
One. And he's the guy that stuck up for me when another officer opened their mouth at training, and then they went and cried to leadership about it.
So I have a training matrix that I came up with. I actually innovated this whole thing.
Go ahead.
When you first start as a police officer, when you train, you go to the police academy. So the training matrix was like this big funnel, right? Well, the cops go in there, and you think about your whole career. When you come out the other end, you have very minimal training.
Yeah.
Because most agencies, what are you doing? You train in the police academy, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So when something happens and you're not trained for it, what do? They resort to the training, which is what? Zero. So
no, for sure.
How do you not enhance training?
I mean, a lot of it is like, Tyler, you did too, probably. Like, I mean, we all worked out outside of work hours. I went and shot on my own.
Did the same thing. I still do to this day.
Yeah, me too. I bought ammo on my own. Some guys were like, I'm not shooting unless the department's giving me ammo.
We all know those guys. Unless they're paying me or paying for the stuff, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well, what about we had people, because when I was a firearms instructor, they should be like, oh, you should be cleaning my weapon. I'm like, go fuck yourself. You learn clean your own weapon.
You're damn right.
Yeah, there's guys that can't even take their weapon apart.
Yeah, we had that when we were starting our tactical team, and some guys didn't even know how to they wanted to be on the team because they wanted to wear BDUs on patrol. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know how to break down your rifle.
But here's a whole other thing too, is like when you look at that whole, you think about training itself, right? Adam, you worked in a smaller agency, and believe me, that's not a knockout on your agency. You had training through the military and a whole bunch of other training. But when you start as an agency, when you start relying on outside sources to fulfill your training obligation, what does that say about your agency?
Yeah, I know.
That you're incompetent and that you can't train your own people?
Yeah.
Like you don't have guys there that can train you?
No, we had guys
that a lot of buttholes get real tight, bro. But go ahead.
We had guys that were good. The problem is like they would set up good training. We used to have like what the fuck? My cats are attacking each other. We had a guy that he would set up a use of force challenge. And it was a ring. And Vic, I was a Bergen County town. So some guys would be like, if they didn't want to train, they didn't have to train. They're like, I'm going to complain to the PBA. But we would have, there he goes.
For what? Complain about what?
What?
Complain about what?
That they were being made to train. And we had they would set up a use of force challenge where it was PT, defensive tactics and shooting and stuff like that. And some guys were like you had sergeants that didn't even want to do it and shit. It was just, I get so freaking, Tyler and I have had this discussion. I just get I was like you said, Vic, I was in a smaller department. Why didn't everybody go to SWAT school just to have an basic understanding of it? 1 week, 2 week SWAT.
It's only going to make you better out in the street. You're not doing clearing and room entries. It's just going to make you more observant as a street cop. It's patrol tactics.
Yes.
You get better tactics. You learn. You go there. You train with other departments. Oh, like so and so department. I went to SWAT school with a couple guys from Paterson. This is what they do. The problem is then guys by me would be like, "Well, that's Paterson. This is a Ramsey." You know?
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, Vic. I went to a lot of training on my own, and the department didn't pay for it. I went and shot with. I went to a shit ton of shooting courses. With former Delta guys. I went to North Carolina and stuff, and people would be like, "Oh, well, you kiss their asses and they send you." I'm like, "Yeah, they give me the time off, but I paid for all
it's out of your own pocket."
Yeah, I paid for all those fucking courses, bro.
Yeah,
I dropped $2,000 to go train with Delta guys I know and shit like that. Like, I'm like, hey, you can. I guarantee you, if you ask for the days off, they will give it to you to come to do this training that I go to. But nope,
I'm very fortunate to have trained with some of the people that I have trained with. And some of the agencies I've been around, from military, special forces guys, all the way to LA. I consider myself very lucky.
No, for sure. Vic, I'll give you one.
And I wish we had a team like that. That like we got good training and guys wanted to be there. Like you had guys that wanted to train. Like not all the guys by me, even on the tactical team, didn't want to train. They were like, ugh.
Yeah, Vic, I'll give you one Adamism. We were in firearms training. Dude, I showed up with just my iron sight gun with my mags in my pocket, and there was dudes with the fucking kit belt, the flared mag, the drop-down mag. Awesome, bro. I thought it was awesome. But Adam and I were shooting, and they were kind of giving Adam shit because, everyone wants to be the best and all that. And Adam just goes, well, every gunfight I've been in, I won. And they all went, oh. Boom!
I never.
Who else can say that, fuckers?
Listen, I never been in a pistol gunfight. Never pulled my gun on duty, but never with the said that, I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, you shot better than me. Like, yeah, I want to get up to that, shoot better than you. I'm gonna, but but somebody was like, this. I'm like, hey man, they're all gone. I'm still here.
I've only had one guy, and we were in training, and he was a former Green Beret, I can't remember what he was a Green Beret at some point, but he might still be. But the instructors come in, they're like, has anybody ever been in a gunfight with a rifle to the death? His hand goes up. Anybody been in a pistol fight? His hand goes up. And he's like, anybody been in a hand-to-hand combat? And he just looks around. He's like, all right, bro. Yeah, but he's got like 2 bronze stars, a silver. Like he's got all these things. It was like, all right, dude, get out of here with that shit. But it
was his name Jason Bourne?
He is.
No, his name was Vic Martinez.
No. I'm a nobody. Awesome. I'm a nobody.
No, fuck that, bro. All right, we're a little more serious, but we're getting to the wrap up point. I want to touch on these things.
So basically, just to, as far as like better trained, you get less IA complaints, you get less suspect officer injuries, less lawsuits. How's that?
Yes, beautiful, well said, and I appreciate it. I love it. But now I want to tie into the it's kind of a tie-in, so I'm just going to kind of read through it. But the destructive nature of the job, and that can mean a lot of things. And I'd like you to dig into your story just a little bit. Dealing with the responsibility of family, law enforcement, for you, sickness, and then how did you balance all of that? So there's like a lot of things culminating. And I'm not saying it all stemmed from law enforcement, but it's a factor that adds to it.
Oh, it's a lot.
I know it's a lot. I know. It's putting the job first, the hours, the, holidays, birthdays, relationship, dinners, date nights, but then also your mental health, your physical health. I mean, it's kind of all ties in.
I don't think I'll start with this. The mental health stuff really didn't affect me until my second round of cancer.
Okay.
So I just kind of put my head down and just went to work and did all the things that we were talking about for 2 episodes of this podcast. Yeah. So basically almost 3 hours worth of information. I didn't really, that came first. The team always came first. It's just the way it was. I have my second marriage. I'm in a blended family. Secondary were the kids. I didn't miss much of their whatever sports they were playing and things like that. I was always there for them. My 2 boys, they had their mother was still in the picture. She picked up a lot of the burden too when I wasn't around. But as far as like going to events and things like that, I was always there.
That's good.
Yeah. So that was was it hard at times? Yeah, but I made it. So I was always in attendance. I coached ice hockey, so I was involved in that. And then,
so wait, you're also adding in ice. You were coaching ice hockey during all of this?
Yeah, you want to get a whole other perspective of tactics. Ice hockey really opened my eyes as far as tactics.
Sorry, bro. You just threw that out there. I'm sorry. Continue. I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah. But that was, so I would go to work and coach and do all the things. So
you never slept. Got it.
No, I didn't. I did not.
Good God almighty. So, all right, let's walk through that just because you just kind of throw those little nuggets out there. But second round, when was the first round of cancer? Where was that in your career phase?
Yeah, so 2019 was my first cancer. So we were very well established at that point.
Okay.
And again, I was kind of like immersed in this whole thing. I think I told you the story on the first episode. There was a guy that got his knee cleaned, and my goal was to beat him back, and I did.
It's fucking crazy. Okay, so
thyroid cancer was the one to have. If you're gonna get cancer, that's the one to get.
That's so Vic. I'm gonna beat him back. That's also like a Vic comment. If you're gonna get cancer, I got the good one.
Yeah, that's the good one.
It's not my story to tell, but I'll just throw out the phrase because it's a sergeant from my agency I used to work for. They were both in law enforcement, and she was a sergeant. And she comes in, and her husband had cancer. We're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's like, ugh, he got the worst one. We're like, what? We're like, oh my God, is it? She's like, no, it's rectal cancer. It's fucking awful. I hate talking about it. And she's like laughing. I was like, oh my God, it's just how cops deal with stuff. I was like, oh, we're like laughing, but we're like, okay. Like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, all right. But that's just like, that cop.
Yeah, you had to figure it out. You had to,
it's like, there's nothing sexy about it. I was like, okay. Yeah. We're like, I don't know what to say now.
When Lucy had cancer, we're going through everything. People were like, well, how you doing? I'm like, what do you fucking think? It sucks.
Yeah.
Like people like, I pulled no punches. Like I didn't care. Like I wasn't like, back in the day, they used to be like, do you know that Adam's kid has cancer? I'd be like, and they're like, well, how are you doing? And like, if no one ever said it to me, I was waiting for someone to be like, well, you shouldn't really be like that. I'm like, you can go fuck yourself. All right. Like,
who's going to tell you that?
Talk about like my kid having cancer any fucking way I want, if it offends you, go fuck yourself. And when you're leaving, stick a finger up your ass and then suck on it. So
I'll make sure I leave that in. All right. So how long between the next bout of cancer?
No, so 2022 was my next cancer.
Okay. All right. And then that one was a little more.
I found out when my wife was going for her first round of chemo.
Okay. Hold on. So how did that tie in? Was that her first bout in line with your second or in between? I'm just trying to get
she's an underachiever. She only had one cancer. I had two.
Yeah. And of course,
so
Vic had to be a dick because he didn't want her to get all the attention. So he's like, I'm going to get cancer again.
Exactly correct.
Yeah. It's contagious. I heard that.
A lot of attention. Everything was focused on her. And I decided
I can't deal with that.
I'm going to get another cancer.
Oh my God. So you're both
chemo? I'm getting it too.
Oh my God, bro.
That was
yeah.
But
you said that one kind of hit you different.
It did.
And what was it what was the reasoning?
It hit me different because my wife was going through it as well. We both went through chemo at the same time.
Damn.
You really, and this is going to sound ridiculous and twisted, but we say this all the time. Going through it together, we understood what each other was going through.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is I was out of work because I was able to, I have unlimited sick, and there was never a question that guys would. I was never a sick time abuser or anything like that. So guys were just like they left me alone in Paterson. But for her, she would go to her treatments for Monday through Friday for the first week of the month, and then she would go to work.
Jesus,
the rest of the 3 weeks. And you know what? Like that. As far as like being strong mentally, that kind of pushed me to be stronger. Not only for myself, but for her as well. Because there was no nobody paid for anything. Like we had to make the bills and things like that.
Yeah.
We didn't get jack shit. Nobody gave a shit about what we were going through because life still goes on.
And did you still have kids in the house?
I wanted to egg your house when that was going on, just to piss you off even more. I was thinking about it, but
did you have kids in the house at that time as well?
Like kids, all three of them.
Jesus, bro. Okay.
Idiots living here.
Yeah. Fair enough. So,
no.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it again, just because you had so much going on. But so kind of ties into what we've been talking about. But as you stated, bills still have to get paid, as you phrase it. Like life goes on. It doesn't. Sorry about your luck. We got to keep it moving, kind of a thing. But how can leadership better address and support their officers or whatever?
There's probably guys on the team obviously reach out to me.
Leadership or just your.
My boss was, oh my God. He texted me, called me, everything.
I can only see your ear.
But as far as like, yeah, you're.
He's like ducking off the camera, bro. Sorry,
he's nodding off there.
Yeah.
But as far as like, everybody else, the road kind of narrows when you're going through something.
For sure.
It's you find out who's good people and who's there for you and who's not.
And you're
not that it's not. It's like from my point of view, some people are real didn't know how to address it. They didn't know what to say.
That's okay. You took the words right out of my mouth because I was actually going to say that. There's guys that really, especially for me. So I had guys come over the house, and like they would literally be here for like 10 minutes, and they would like run out the door. And I would say to my wife, I'm like, oh man, they came to see me. That was just great, but they were like here for like 10 minutes and they left. Guys would call me after and say, I couldn't even look at you in that condition because they would go in my driveway, get in their car, drive off, and they would stop at the end of the street and they would start bawling their eyes out.
It's hard to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was 50 pounds lighter. I looked like, Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Okay, bro. I like that. That's a good analogy. I've never heard that. I like it. Fair enough.
It's going through chemo. They're like, what the fuck? What is going on in this class? I don't know if it was either like, let me get out of this house.
I like to point out that I didn't like really talk to you that much or come see you because I was going through my own little problems at the time.
Oh, I know.
I think we texted once in a while. Yeah.
We texted a lot. What are you talking about?
I know. I'm fucking with you, bro. So
for Adam, that's once in a while.
Yeah. But let me tell you something, and Vic knows this. If I went over to Vic's house and I saw him the way he was, and I was quiet and said, if I was there for a little bit and I said, all right, I hope you feel better, and then left, Vic would be like, you're a fucking asshole, don't ever come over again. He would be expecting me to be like, dude, I would be in like, dude, you look like shit. You really look like a cancer patient and stuff.
But I needed that. I needed that.
You don't want to be treated different.
No, I didn't want to be treated different.
Especially from your guy, your brothers, your partners.
So that was tough. That was hard. That's why I think it was so hard for me to swallow. It was not only going through like the guys, coming here and coming and going, but my wife going through it and seeing her and the struggles that she was going through. But going through it together, we really understood like each other what we were going through.
Yeah,
I set an alarm for every 45 minutes at one point after I got my treatments, where I would have to set an alarm for 45 minutes, get up and do whatever task it was, whether it was like throw a load of laundry in, take the laundry out, fold it, I'll put it away, empty the dishwasher. I had to do like little small things just to keep moving.
Yeah.
Because if I just sat there and
wallowed in it,
that wasn't going to be a good outcome for me.
Vic, were yours and your wife's chemo schedules on the same times or like different weeks and stuff like that?
Yeah. So hers was like the first week of the month. It was Monday through Friday. And then mine was like, my infusions were once a month. Yeah. I was once a month infusion. And then I had to take the pills every day.
I heard those are brutal too. I heard. I have no idea. So yeah,
They're looking at those pills and like knowing I had to take them, I would just look at them and stare at them for like 15 minutes.
Weren't they like this big or something?
They were pretty big, man. And they just rip your insides apart. And it was just horrible.
And you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
How long were you going through that? Like, what was the time frame for that?
My first treatment was May. Yeah. Five. Yeah. May, June, July. Yeah. August was so four infusions. And then plus, so 4 months of infusions. I had a port that was installed in my chest. And then the pills were every day.
How long did you do the pills for, Vic?
That was 5 months.
That's brutal, bro.
Yeah. But then I looked at my wife. I mean, it's going to sound stupid. I think I had the better deal than my wife did because
all right, fair enough.
My wife would have to get like her, she would leave where the IV port, she would leave that in for the whole week. She would try to, that was her goal. She would leave it in for.
She didn't get the port too?
No.
Jeez.
No, she was hardcore, bro. She's way more hardcore than me.
Yeah, I'm a baby. I can't do needles, dude. They have to give me a baby needle.
Yeah, I don't think I could have done what she did. To be honest with you,
that's
right. Go to work the following week and work.
Fuck that.
Yeah, dude. No, and she's a hairstylist.
Jesus, bro.
Yeah, so she's constantly, constantly on her feet and constantly moving. It's miserable. She had this thing in her arm. No, dude.
But to make matters worse, she was married to you and had to sleep in the same bed and shit.
According to you, I gave her cancer, right?
Yeah. I'm still fucking convinced you gave it to her.
Oh my God.
You know?
I can't wait to have her on. So that's going to be exciting.
All right. I'm going to say this is not to try and be a Debbie Downer or anything, but this is towards the end with Lucy, her doctor comes to us and this is when within a month and a half before she passed, she's like, and we still talk to her. She love her doctor. She's like, I just want you guys to know that I have breast cancer now. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Yeah, her doctor got breast cancer. She's okay now. But she still has to she beat knock on wood, but she still has to take pill and stuff like that. So it's been about, 2.5, a little over 2.5 years. But I remember one of the saddest things is Lucy asked, we're in, she was, she wasn't getting chemo. She's probably just getting blood work because I don't think her platelets were good for chemo anymore because it was close to the end. The saddest thing, she's like, she goes to us. She's like, did I give Dr. So-and-so the cancer? I'm like, we're like, no, honey, it's in it. Like, it's just a fucking brutal disease, man. As much as I hate Vic, I wish he never got it.
No, thank you.
Well, that's good. That's good.
There's plenty of people I wish I had it though.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with you on that, Vic. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. We're going to just wrap it up, but I just wanted to touch on this before we wrap it up. I don't know how to transition smoothly, so I'm just going to bluntly do it.
There's no transition from that.
I don't know what to say from that, so I don't know where to go. Yeah.
Just rip a loud fart or something.
Oh my God. I know.
Yes, me and my wife had cancer
together. So that's the point where you said, I can't remember exactly the time after or before, but you were like, I'm done. I'm not going to go back.
Yeah, I was ready to go back, and then my wife started crying, and she ruined it for me.
I know. She's such an asshole because she loves you, and she wants you to stay home.
She wants to be with you. I know.
Yeah.
She's such a jerk.
But you are one of the several individuals I've talked to that life after, and I appreciate you talking about it.
Oh my God, we're going to get into this? Holy
just a little bit, like 10 minutes, bro. Just kind of, just well, let's do it from this angle. How can law enforcement professionals, people retire, better position themselves for life after either a new job or retire, whatever that looks like for them?
Again, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
what was it like for you?
It's a crazy world we live in. How's that?
Yes.
Fair. So like I said in the first episode, my resume is
rock solid, baby.
For law enforcement purposes.
Correct. Yeah.
I check a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
But for corporate America, nobody gives two shits about what I did.
It's humbling.
It is humbling.
I mean, if they need a certain quote of idiots, they're good for third.
What did that look like for you, and how did you overcome it, I guess?
So my advice to anyone who's getting out of law enforcement and looking to get into any kind of career after, dude, AI and resumes are taking over. So you need to
expound on that, because this is the third conversation today I've had about using AI for
it's tough.
Things.
So you need to they'll take your resume and they'll put it through a system. And if it doesn't check certain boxes, they just kind of don't even look at your resume. So that's AI use. They kind of go scan it through AI.
Buzzwords, man. Buzzwords.
That's kind of what it is. Yeah. So I just got lucky basically with the job that I have now. Are there other jobs out there that I think I'm qualified for? I had conversations with Adam about this before. It's a tough, especially I think maybe it's just in this area because it's the New York metropolitan area.
Yeah.
It's just kind of inundated with guys that have resumes like myself and Adam. Adam sent me his resume not too long ago. I looked at his resume. I was like, dude, how does this guy not have a job?
Yeah,
he's making
it's all who you know, man.
$1 billion because his resume is solid. Tyler, I'm sure your resume is solid too. But it's
Tyler's a smart fucking dude, bro. He looks like a big dumb lug, but he's actually smart.
I don't have my glasses on.
I have one. He's kind of a mellow guy, man.
No, he looks like it. But it's
if I was crazy when we were in LA doing podcasting, if I got out of control, he probably would have locked me in a bathroom for a half hour or so.
Vic, I had to put my hand on him a few times, like, Adam, we're here to do something. He's like, oh, okay.
He had to put you in timeout?
I did a couple times.
Yeah, but
wait. It's because I was really excited because I was excited about where we were, the whole place and everything.
I just, this job kind of just fell in my lap. So I think there's definitely room for growth where I'm at. I think when you take something on paper, it's different from when you're actually interacting with the actual person behind that resume. And I think that's kind of what's giving me hope for the future. So I'm hoping that this job can definitely open up my horizons a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this: education, because that's something else that's a hot topic right now. I have mixed feelings on it, to be honest with you, because I think people who like Adam, both of you, you guys have all this experience and all these certifications, but as you mentioned, once you start going into the private sector, they're like, oh, you don't have your bachelor's or master's or PhD or whatever the fuck it is. It's like, no, but I've been actually doing this fucking job for 30 years or whatever it is. Yeah. I've actively been doing it. So did you see that? Did you experience it?
Yeah, because I'm actually finishing up my master's.
I brought it up.
Yeah, it's actually coming up pretty soon. But I finished my bachelor's after
Sorry, last bunny trail. What was that like for you after, career? And now you're like, I got to go back to school and write papers and fun.
It's tough.
Exciting. Yeah, dude, it fucking sucks.
Tough. You know what it is academia and doing it in real life are two different things.
Don't get me started, bro. Fucking PhDs teaching criminal justice. And I'm like, have you ever been a cop ever? Have you ever done a traffic stop? No, I went from this college to this college
sat
to this college,
in a comfortable air-conditioned office. And it's also like it's the same thing with like you have a lawyer that is like reviewing your body cam footage or something. And they're like, well, what, like, dude, I didn't have hindsight. It was 2:15 in the morning. I was exhausted. I was like, I grew up going to bed at night and waking up and working during the day. Now you have me out on the road. Like, oh, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do like, dude, why don't you come do this for a couple months or a couple years and see how it is?
Yeah, it's definitely a different feel going back to school, especially having the experience and the knowledge that I had. There were some professors who were current law enforcement. I've actually reached out to them after the fact and emailed them back and forth and had pleasant, conversations with them. They get it. They understand.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would definitely express some of my gripes with some of the things. But that's just me. I'm a realist. I don't sugarcoat anything. I never did ever, even with my kids or anything like that. It's the truth. You got it. The truth will set you free, as they say.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me ask you this, because you are actively doing it. Are there any fields in the private sector that you've been exposed to or are actively looking for law enforcement experience that you could put out there or have knowledge of?
Yeah. So right now I'm working in the corporate security field. Executive protection would be my ultimate goal, but that's like that would definitely make me happy. I think that would, scratch the itch for the most part. Or, any kind of leadership role or team lead as far as like security and things like that. That's kind of like what I'm looking at. The picture, it is there. I don't have enough corporate experience to achieve that. It's hard to swallow sometimes because you look at, some of the people that are doing these things, you're just like, where you read some of the policies and, the first thing I did when I got this new job was read the policies and procedures, and you're just like, who wrote this?
Yeah.
If there's something bad happens, lock the door and sit down and wait. It's like shit like that.
But
for sure. Yes, for sure.
I'm an AI bot.
Yeah, for sure.
It goes back, Tyler, you asked about like something like that. Like I remember when I was leaving the PD, I saw director of public safety for one of the local colleges here. So I put in for it. It said, have law enforcement leadership experience, advanced degree and stuff like that. And put in, never heard anything. I got thanks, but no thanks. And at that time, Lucy was sick. So I'm like, fuck this. I don't give a shit. I emailed back. I'm like, I don't understand. I met and exceeded all the requirements for the job. I have 2 master's degrees. I have leadership experience with the military, law enforcement, this and that. Like, they don't want to hear it. I probably got put on a blacklist, But I was like, I'm like, dude, I didn't say like, hey, I should have been hired. I said, I think with my background, my qualifications meeting and exceeding what you guys wanted, I think that should have garnered me at least an interview. Tyler, the same, and it's who so a lot of times with jobs, they already know who they want, and they just have to do that for legalese and stuff like that.
Well, it's also hiring within, right? So
yeah. For sure.
That's like a big thing too. But just get my foot in the door. Listen, I'm very happy where I'm at. But do I think there's going to be opportunities that arise from it? Yes, It's just a matter of me capitalizing on it. That's all.
No, for sure. For sure. Well said. Gents, anything you want to, any parting words?
No,
Adam, I want to smack you right across your face.